Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of Smiths Falls for All Committee for April 11th at 9:06 a.m. I'll open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. On April 11th, 2024, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and has rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're also grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order we might meet here today. Also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, and being mindful of generations to come. Ask for a motion for approval of the agenda or any amendments to the agenda. Moved by Katie, seconded by Mitra. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Adoption of minutes. We'll have a chance to review the minutes. Need a motion for approval. Moved by Mitra, seconded by Katie. All in favor? That too is carried. Thank you. Disclosure of monetary interest. Seeing and hearing none. And before we go to our delegation, I just want to mention, you recall at our last meeting, we supported a basic income resolution. It was forwarded to Committee of the Whole, which was supported Committee of the Whole and approved by Council this week. So I've heard back from, well, actually I went after the meeting, there was a basic income meeting in Perth, the Civitan and the MP who is, MP Kazan, who is leading the initiative in the House, forwarded the bill in the House, was speaking. Anyway, they asked if it was approved, and the place just erupted. They were so happy to hear that we had approved it and be the first in Lanark County, not the first municipality across the province or across the country, but certainly they thought it was a very important step in the right direction. So that really started here. So thank you for all your support to try and make that happen. And we're really happy to have Julia Crowder here. Julie is the Manager of Economic Development and Tourism for the town. She's involved in supporting newcomers through community development and working with the local immigration partnership. So we asked Julia to be here to talk about the work of her department, really.
Thank you for having me. I wanted to come and meet you all and introduce myself. And as Mayor Panko said, just let you know what we do. Your mandate aligns with our mandate and our goals and what economic development and community development is, which is really creating a vibrant community that's sustainable and diverse. So really I'm your staff resource, and my staff are your resources to help with your initiatives to get those out. Bring one with me, so I'll just kind of read off the slide. So economic development and tourism is responsible for creating and implementing programs, policies, and activities that improve economic well-being and quality of life in our community. So my department does economic and community development, tourism, arts, culture, and heritage, which also includes Heritage House Museum, as well as corporate marketing and communications. Next slide. And so this is our department. We have 6 full-time staff. Council this year approved a tourism, arts, and culture coordinator. So we haven't filled that spot yet, but we'll be looking to do that in a couple of weeks. We also work really closely with a lot of our community partners on the economic development and community development side. On Track, which does workforce support, the Chamber of Commerce, Valley Heartland, the Small Business Advisory Center, and the Smiths Falls Downtown EIA Association. So our core responsibilities is data and research analysis, strategic planning and policy, business retention and expansion, business attraction and development investment, workforce and resident attraction, and I think that's where you guys play a key role in that, and that's the economic development side. Next slide. On the community development side, our department's responsible for community and social services development. That includes physician recruitment. We work really closely with our physician recruitment partners. Workforce retention, resident attraction, retention again, placemaking and revitalization. So when we talk about community and pride and being diverse and being inclusive, that's part of our spectrum of community development. And then tourism, so tourism's pretty self-explanatory. We look at tourism asset development, creating new experiences in our community, destination marketing, as well as visitor information and services. And we partner very closely with the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown BIA on that as well. And then corporate communications. So we manage the town's branding and visual identity, the website and social media, community awareness and public engagement, and internal communications and policies. So again, that's really the key part here. Any of the initiatives that you want to get out, that's where our department is going to help you and assist with that. And I think one of the big things that, I hope this committee can do at some point is take a look at our website and see where we need to update that to help meet your goals and mandates. Or when we're looking at marketing campaigns and social media campaigns, where do you think, and maybe we can come to you and ask you questions and advice and get some recommendations about some of the visuals that we're putting out. Do we need to visually be more diverse, and how can we do that better to meet your mandating goals? Okay. Next one. So then I just wanted to give a list of some projects and initiatives that kind of align with you guys. Cultural plan implementation. So we're over 50% complete. That plan goes until 2025. So we hope to have all the initiatives and actions completed by the end of next year. We created new resident and business welcome guides. I heard that was a conversation around the table of creating those. So we've already done those. They launched this year, but if you haven't had a chance to look at them, please do. And if you feel like we're missing anything or there needs to be updates, we can go and do that in the next year or two. We own those documents, and they're easy to update if we need to do that. Developing a public art master plan, so looking at diversity and inclusion and placemaking through public art. So we hope to have that closer to the end of the year to council and adopted, and then we'll be looking at potentially creating a new committee that will handle overseeing and making recommendations of public art in our community. Work to continue to support physician recruitment efforts, working on new resident attraction videos. So once those are kind of complete, I can send those to this committee as well. Looking at and showcasing our community. I think it's not just about the outside people in our community, it's also looking inside in our community and trying to take some of the stigmas away within our community. So it will be a resident attraction video, but it's also community building videos to introduce new people in our community, to say why they love being in Smith Falls and to talk about their history and their culture and their families and the great things about our community. The new volunteer connection program, so that's a big one. All organizations are struggling to find volunteers, so we're developing a program to help make those connections between the organizations and the volunteers in our community. So that's something that we can send to this committee as well to have some input on when we have a draft ready. We do annual community events. We do the annual community awards that will be coming up at the end of May. We do an annual job fair, and we work again with key partners for local immigration and workforce development and attraction, and that includes newcomers. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
That was wonderful. Actually, you targeted one of the notes that I put here to talk about it in the meeting, and that was about the job fair. I was in a job fair in Kingston on Tuesday, and that was a fairly large one. So I was going to I didn't know that also this is being considered in your office, to have maybe something with collaboration of other towns around, to have that type of job fair, big job fair here. Because we don't have obviously so many businesses here who may need that workforce. So
Julie talked about that because there was something yesterday.
Yeah, so I was wondering like how that works, as I saw it on your list.
So it did happen yesterday. We had it at the Youth Arena. It is an annual job fair that we do every year. And we partner with On Track. They're kind of the main coordinators of that. And it is a regional job fair. So we do invite businesses outside of Smith Falls. We had 35 businesses and 9 educational institutions. And we probably had 200 to 250 job seekers that came through last year, or came through yesterday.
Mm-hmm. The pamphlets that you have, would you pick them up downstairs?
Yep. Yeah.
Because I can take the volunteer information to the Friends of the Library. for example, we like 26 people, so
Yeah.
they may be interested in volunteering somewhere else too, so.
I don't have that, the draft of that document isn't created yet. That's
Oh, I
something
see.
that Carrie's working on.
Okay,
But the new welcome guides, they're
Yeah.
available in print as well as online.
okay, good. Thanks.
And what's the link to your website?
It's smithfalls.ca.
Okay, so it's under Smith Falls.
And if you type in the search new resident or new business, there's a page specifically for those guides. I'm happy to provide them as well.
Okay.
Just a brief comment that your material does work, because when my wife and I were looking for a place to move, one of the things that caught our attention for Smiths Falls was just how amazingly designed and neat all of the information was about the township and its locations. And it was so very well thought out. There's like, oh wow, these people clearly care about letting people know about their town, what it's like to live here. So I just wanted you to know that that was only 3 years ago. So it works.
Nice to know.
That's going in the minutes.
Yeah.
What was that?
It's going in the
That's
minutes.
going in the minutes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yes.
you're welcome.
That's nice to hear.
It works. Yes.
Further comments or questions for Julia? Julia, tell a little bit about your work with the LIP.
So we're a regional partner with LIP. There is the Lanark and Renfrew County LIP. They've developed local immigration partnership for those regions. So it's a very broad area. They developed a strategic plan. We don't have a lot of information. They haven't really come to the town of Smith Falls yet to say we need you to do this specifically, but we're having ongoing conversations to say we want to be at the table and we want to know how we can help with the implementation and bring in more newcomers into the community. I think with every community is challenged with housing, right? That's a big one. Finding appropriate places for newcomers to live and the cost of that. There's also the workforce challenges that come along with that. So I know LIP right now is also working in partnership with Valley Heartland, and I believe they came and did a delegation as well. So they're working together, and they do have a coordinator to do the implementation of those. So we're just waiting to see what we can do in order to support them. They've really developed the plan for the entire region.
Very good, important collaboration.
Yeah.
Katie?
I just wondered if you have figured out any way that we can get a list of all these people that are moving in, all the newcomers in town. Is there any way?
There's not, in privacy issues, there's not a list that we could develop. We could ask, we could go out to the community and say, hey, are you a newcomer?
Yeah.
We want to meet you. And maybe that's something that this committee could look to do, newcomer welcome event. And that's something that maybe our department can support. Things like that take time and funding. We don't have a lot of funds in our department. So I think figuring out what you guys want to do and looking at implementation for next year is really important, and we can help support with that. We have a dedicated staff for economic and community development. That's Carrie Barlow. So she can help with some of those coordination efforts. And then of course the marketing, we can help get that out through all of our channels.
And it's one of our discussion items today. Thanks. Okay. Thanks, Julia. Really
welcome.
appreciate you. Probably have to get back another year or so just to do another update.
Absolutely. And feel free to reach out to me anytime if you have any questions, about the website or about marketing or some of the other initiatives that are doing. I'm always here to help and have my phone on. So thank you.
Well, before you walk away, one initiative that we've talked about, we'll talk about it probably more today, is simply that allyship ambassador program and how that works with LIP, but probably have a section of our website dedicated to that program. So that'll be further another time.
Just let me know what you guys
Yeah.
do. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay, so moving into our priority issues. We sort of went through a SWOT analysis last meeting to try and determine some of our key strategic priorities for this term. What do we want to accomplish? If we're sitting here, well, I guess 2.5 years from now, we'll be sort of wrapping up this term. What do we feel we need to have accomplished over the next 2.5 years to say, yeah, we made a difference in moving our community forward? So I want to open it up for discussion.
I want to see 2 years from now a transportation system between Ottawa and
Okay,
Those are dreams.
that's captured in the minutes. Well, there is, just on that, I'm sure I mentioned here before or not, there's a rural transportation working group for Lanark County and Smith Falls. We've contributed money towards a feasibility study. So that, and the county did as well. So that is all sort of, I assume, underway at some point in time this year. That will likely help guide future decisions. And without having a feasibility study, we would not be able to try to obtain any other federal or provincial grants. So it's an important first step. So 2 years from now, maybe, you never know.
Because the first thing that I was thinking when I was considering Smith Falls as one of my target places to, to buy a property was that how do I get to Smith Falls and back to Ottawa to work? So that was my first question, if it is possible or not. So I know that would open up a large opportunity for everyone who considers living outside Ottawa and working in Ottawa.
Mhm.
So I think that's very important.
Well, it could grow the diversity of our community, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Further thoughts, Katie, or?
Well, can you phrase the question again?
Well, I guess.
What are the guidelines?
Yeah, so essentially, what do we want to accomplish between now and the end of this term? Like I said, we're sitting here 2.5 years from now, and we're wrapping up this term. We want to, how do we measure success? What has to have happened for us to consider this being successful?
Well,
More people off the street.
Pardon?
More people off the streets, like more less homeless. I think more
Okay.
housing would be
Mhm.
even. I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't have a big suggestion for it, but just there's so many people on the streets right now that Alex has been helping and feeding, and the community's been helping, but they need to somewhere else, for whether it's, I don't know, cooling center, somewhere to go that maybe they want to be there. Maybe they don't want a house, but they need somewhere to get out of the elements if they can, that sort of thing. For down here, but up here, definitely more housing
Mhm.
is what we need. I can't remember how many, she's helping people out with hundreds of meals, food security, housing security. I'd like to see less need in 2 years,
Okay.
for sure.
So that's something that can be measured, not completely, but the county has a by name list of people who are homeless. And that number has grown recently. And I think it's 40%, 50% are from Smith Falls, I think, with the overall number. So that's a number we can monitor and measure and know. And on that, I think everyone's probably familiar with the Housing First or Transitional Housing Initiative for Willowdale. And it came back to the Community Services Committee at County Council last night because the original budget was $296,000, and that was all going to be provincial funding, and it was supported by County Council last month. But after negotiations between the landlord and Lanark County Mental Health led to an increase in the cost. So another $120,000 had to be approved. And I guess I would say after a fair amount of discussion last night, and Councilor McKenna was there as well, the overall consensus at the committee level was to support the other $120,000 to enable this to happen. So it's got to be approved by County Council in a couple of weeks, but that seems pretty more of a formality. So that's a very important initiative because it's going to be 13 housing first or transitional housing units, basically taking people who are homeless, housing them, and giving them support and stabilization to try and get them onto the next stage of life. So that itself should lead to a reduction in numbers. And we don't know, people may stay there for a few months and may stay there for a year or longer, depending on how long it takes until they can find somewhere else or until they get stabilized. But very important initiative, which will, I think, make a difference. Is 13 rooms enough? Probably not. But
It's a start,
It's a great start.
Yeah.
It's a big start.
I think maybe under that kind of idea that in 2.5 years we can't fix every single problem. What we can do is begin really addressing a lot of these low-level and foundational issues, and to say that hopefully by very strategically looking at what can we achieve by the end of the term, we can say, well, we have started what is hopefully part one, or completed part one of what will hopefully be in the next term, something that we then continue, because I feel like we could put a lot of stuff up in the air that never gets resolved within the term. But if we scale things in such where we can start building new initiatives that hopefully in 2.5 years we can say, okay, well, this phase one of this is completed and we can see that there's meaningful change. So in the next term we can start scaling that, and we can see that there's positive change and that there's good feedback from it. I think it's looking at what can we meaningfully within that time limit and within our budget limit do that will have the most profound effect on the community. And I feel like they're addressing some of that low level stuff like income security and housing security and food security is probably going to have the greatest impact on the biggest number of residents of this community. And I feel like that what we risk with communities like this is lots of high level talk. And while having inspiration and vision for like long-term stuff is excellent, that doesn't feed people. It doesn't put a roof over heads. And sometimes I feel in communities, some of that resistance to progress can come from, as someone who has they them pronouns, to be like, why are you teaching people how to respect that person's pronouns when I'm struggling to feed my family? Why do you think that's more important than me? And the answer is it's probably not, actually. It's about how we focus the priorities of how do we make effective progress? Maybe we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but if we can only do one, probably better to do the more foundational things, is my personal opinion.
Well, next, Ellie.
So kind of building off of that, the way I'm then, I guess framing it in my mind is, what if we kind of have like, say, our 4 pillars? So you have poverty, housing stability, food insecurity, and I'm going to call it inclusivity. I don't know if that's the proper word, but we can look at racism, respect for pronouns, allyship, all that stuff. And then we can identify different low-hanging fruits. So I'm going to go with housing instability because that's kind of easy for me. So we can look at, an acquisition strategy. What lands are available to develop affordable housing. But then, big picture, we can look at, okay, do we have an advocacy strategy? Are we talking to our MPPs? Are we talking with, higher levels of government? What are we doing in that kind of space? And if we have, a couple low-hanging fruit within each pillar and a couple bigger, kind of things, that gives us, a workforce. And like you said, that way we're, tackling different things and different priorities, but not saying one is more important than the other.
Yeah, I agree with that. And something that's for a future meeting is diversity training, which I'm assuming is for municipal staff. And that's like a very good starting point to be like, we have these training guidelines that all municipal staff need to look at. What needs updating in there in order to better align with accessibility and inclusion. Yeah, I think that maybe breaking it up into pillars makes more sense. So
and so in your inclusivity, one of our low-hanging fruit could be our newcomer event. And like, I don't mean low-hanging fruit in a negative, but just like something that we can easily kind of do quickly. So low-hanging fruit would be our newcomer event. Long-term, I personally haven't had a chance to look at their cultural implementation framework that they're working on that Julie just presented, but maybe we can look at that and see how we can support that and implement some of those things. Then, in food insecurity, we've got the Smiths Falls Food Hub is coming in, different ways in which we can support that. Can we, be asking Julie and her team to be doing some marketing and communication around that, sharing that out on the Smiths Falls Town website. Long term, are we wanting the town of Smiths Falls to commit to funding so much money per year? Is that something that we can kind of develop a strategy around? And looking at, community meals and ways in which we can support that long term.
The food hub right now is serving 100 people on Mondays.
It's crazy.
So, yeah. I don't know if we're getting more because we're actually putting what we're serving out there, and who wants to pass up butter chicken? But I think, we're serving more and more, that the word is getting out that,
The weather gets better too, people are more mobile.
the weather, and we do have transportation if it's needed, but nobody's reached out for that yet. But
And the food bank's seen like triple to what they were seeing 3 years ago, and their, expenses also are triple to what they were, pre-COVID. And so rallying around the organizations that are doing the work and supporting that, right? How can we do that and lift the work that they're doing? And make sure that they have sustainability, right? Is that something that we can do as a committee, is ensure that some of these basic needs have sustainable funding?
Peter?
that's the big.
It occurs to me, I agree with everything that everyone said. It occurs to me that there's still a lack of information about what is already going on. And I almost think like a report card for this group, just to say, yeah, we identified food security. Here's what there's a lot going on. Here's what's happening in housing. Here's what's happening in transportation. And then say, okay, where are the gaps and how do we hitch our wagon to some things? Because I think we said earlier we can't do it all, but training for me is the biggest gap, because there's no it's not happening. People are self-initiating their training. So anyways, I just wonder if we could just do there already is an awful lot going on in investment and commitment. So this group should be informed about that. You should walk in the door informed, but you can facilitate that in alone, and putting out a report card to the community, just because people think that it isn't there, and there's an awful lot going on. So is it enough? Never. And then say, where are the gaps? Training, it seems to me, a big gap. And hitch our wagons to other initiatives. We don't need to create things. They're
Exactly.
there. Ally with groups that are doing well.
Let's lift what they're doing.
Yeah, advocate, write letters. Or in the case of and the other 4 pillars, I had fun on the end of that, because let's make this continue to be a fun place to live and have,
I do completely agree with the idea of having a report card, because I personally don't quite know what the initiatives are going on in this town. I think that's come up once or twice. I think even in just this meeting where we're like, oh, I'm glad that is already happening.
Yeah.
So I think getting that overview of what the township's already doing would be very helpful. And I think would definitely help formulate what we could do next.
Does it exist already, Sean? Is that, I'm on the community safety wellbeing plan, and there might be
I'd say it's part
in their strategic plan.
purpose in there. Like I think there's pieces in different places.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have one sort of
This-
resource where you can go and say, well, what's going on with transportation? What's going on with food security? What's going on
Yeah.
with...
Well, it was for this group, but then it can be, it can be.
So maybe Carrie can distribute basically a questionnaire that can go to all of us. And if we all put our heads together, we can probably come up with a lot of the initiatives that are already underway, which will probably help identify some of the gaps that have yet to be filled. Here?
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I suggested I might take a stab at it,
Yeah.
just to put an outline out there and then send it out and say, what else do we have to? Like it's better to start with something.
Mhm.
I don't know why
Thank you.
Good one.
but
Thanks, Peter.
like just another survey. I have it all in my head. A lot of it,
Yeah.
and
Probably a lot the same.
and there's an awful lot going on.
I will say, I think that's a piece that's missing right now in the social services in general, is that systems navigation piece. There's so much happening, and
Yeah.
with COVID, so many kind of new initiatives started up and so many initiatives shut down, that I think, across the board, that's something that we're struggling with, like within Lanark County, is who's doing what and what are they doing and how are they doing it and who can be referred and who has, access to those programs.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say that's just like an us thing. That's like a Lanark County thing that we're struggling with.
Yes. Further comments?
Back to your
Which one?
question of yes, and in 2 years, what we would like to see, I think, also in line with what the other members said, we do need to have to. I'm not sure if we have them already in place, or if not, then we need to establish some sort of like community loan for people, for entrepreneurs, like who would like to start a job. They are new to Smith Falls. They would like to start a job, but they don't have enough
So-
budget to do
So
that.
that goes back to communication, because that is there now with Small Business Enterprise Center, which is located here.
Yeah.
And Valley Heartland. So there are opportunities, but again, it goes back to that communication.
For
Yeah.
the people, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you as a newcomer to our community, relative newcomer, would not be aware of that yet. So I'm probably all newcomers,
Yes.
most would not be aware of that.
Exactly.
So it's that communication.
That's right. The communication
Inclusivity.
Yes.
for us to just put that all in place without having so much, click on this and then another window opens up, just like the key parts
Some of
that
the key
people get,
resources.
so that people can see and they know that if they would like to do this, then there is this fund available for them, this opportunity available for them. And I know that last time, Mayor, I asked you about a shelter again. You mentioned that there is no shelter here. Is that something that you see feasible for Smith Falls, or even necessary? Just because
I would say the feasibility or probability is limited. My limited understanding, one, they can be very problematic. They don't lead to great outcomes. It's creating more transitional housing units where people have their own dignified space and their own bedroom and their own bathroom and ability to be stable is obviously more valuable than a shelter. But it's all going to depend, I guess, on, we'll see how this rolls out and what kind of demand there is. And if there's far more demand than the space is available, it tells us maybe we will need to do more, and I suspect we probably do. But shelters, I know, are from a small municipality standpoint, you need space, you need to staff them 24/7. So I think it's something that probably would not happen for a municipality our size. I think our preference would be to try to further support potentially more permanent housing as well as transitional housing. Cooling center, warming center, the Falls Food Hub is going to be able to provide that, hopefully. It's going to be based on the number of hours they can be open, which is going to be based on the level of support they get from the community, both volunteerism and financial support. But I think it's going to be an incredibly positive resource. I think we will collaborate a lot with that organization because we have a very common interest in trying to support the people of our community. So that will help fill some of the gaps as well, I believe. But
perfect. And also, I believe we have talked about this before. We have touched this point also in our previous meetings. That was about inviting businesses to come and talk about their challenges and how they can contribute to the programs like the Monday community food service that we provide. Talking about the businesses now, I'm talking about like the businesses who work with people on a bigger scale. For example, Tim Hortons, we do have Starbucks, Giant Tiger. So we have them here, and then also I'm sure that we can attract more of their support of how they can even gift cards for people who can benefit even those small, incentives, or their donations to low-income people if they would like to go to Giant Tiger for a basket of, necessary items that they can just give them as for free. That would be good if we have more of reach out and get in touch with the businesses here.
so that seems like a natural collaboration for the Falls Food Hub.
Yeah.
Because they'll be the ones who, in many cases, are facing off with people who are vulnerable, providing a gift card, helping provide access to shelter and things like that. But the support, I don't know if we would be municipally, we get involved in that because I think that puts us in an awkward place with our businesses in the community. But I think a charity like the Falls Food Hub would be a natural.
Would be a good point to start from.
Yeah.
The business survey's just gone out.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see the results.
Julie's department does an annual business survey. So that gives an insight.
Yeah, and just kind of to touch on that, I know a lot of the I'm gonna be brave and say all the local social services, like they do that kind of stuff, like the hygiene supplies and the gift cards and stuff to give to folks who are in need. And also Tim Hortons, Starbucks, and Giant Tiger all have like community action grants that organizations can apply for. So like Smith Falls, you can go on their website and apply for funding if you're a community group or if you're a nonprofit or a charity and you want to do some kind of initiative. Like they have all those funding kind of things. So you just kind of have to go like look for them. But again, I don't think that's something that we could do as a committee, but like in my nonprofit life, I do. So.
Further comments? So it really sounds, we think of Smith Falls for All and equity, diversity, and inclusion. A big focus of this group really is on, I guess, the fight against poverty and trying to help improve outcomes. So I guess we look at ranking priorities. It almost sounds like, and Gwen, I think you got the ball rolling on this, that there's the bigger picture focus we would love to have right now for prioritizing. We have a lot of people who are in very difficult situations, and we need to devote energy and brain power to what we can do to try and help improve their quality of life. Is that a fair statement?
It's hard to make a town attractive when the people in it are already struggling.
Yeah.
If people see that, then they're not looking to go to a town where there's lots of homelessness, there's food, and this is just, they're just not viewing the town as a nice place to be. So if we started there, then we make the town more welcoming.
Yeah, and I don't think like, I don't know how to do this without sounding harsh, but
Yeah,
like, we need to
I didn't
take
know how
care-
to say it either.
We need to take care of our own, right? Our own are not going to be welcoming if we're supporting others and not supporting our own.
And we're not hiding it
Yeah.
because we're trying to fix it.
Yeah, that's important.
I did just want to say, because I pulled this out, but Interval House has this great little keychain, and it's got like a scan code on it, and so they update all their resources. Yeah, and so it'd be fun if we could do something like that. Yeah, and that way you have all the resources within the town,
Wow.
right? Under our 5 pillars: fun, food, housing.
And the food
Facility.
hub, we have it's a work in progress, but we have a community board. And on that board, we're putting all these resources for people. They can either take a picture of it with their phone, they can write it on a piece of paper, they can take, we've got all sorts of resources, different meals that are being offered during the week. So maybe a QR code for that sort of resources or other things would be perfect. We just pop it on the board.
Yeah.
And then they'd always have the update, because the majority of them have, I think some of them are given phones, and so they can get the QR codes that way as well.
So I guess from a resources, maybe a good idea if we had maybe the Falls Food Hub come and do a delegation. At our next
Get
meeting.
Ashley on that.
Okay.
I'll get Ashley on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that would,
Because it is, renovations will be starting soon and the plan to be open hopefully by mid-year. But I think we can probably help influence some of the programming, like taking our collective thoughts and,
get Ashley and Ramsey maybe in as well.
yeah. Okay.
Do we have community housing, in Smith Falls?
So
Sort of.
the town doesn't own housing, but we partner with Lanark County. So Lanark County has 284 social housing units in town right now. And then at 44 Chambers, there is 34 more units which will be being occupied this month.
Wow.
They're owned by Cambridge Community Support, but they're supported by Lanark County Housing. So its mandate is broad. Of course, it's got all across the county, but it's also supporting the initiative at Willowdale, right? So transitional housing is being supported by that. So they play a very active role in our community. So any further comments on this? Otherwise, we've got a bunch of ideas to put together. I think I like the sort of four pillars concept. And then it's a matter of how the priorities all align under each of those four pillars. Narrowing our focus somewhat.
Yeah, we don't need to keep reinventing the wheel on things.
Yeah,
Somebody's already doing all the legwork.
I think visibility and communication of what initiatives the township is already doing and how they're performing is going to be, I think, the best material for us to work with in terms of, not reinventing the wheel and not being like, do we already have this?
Easier to say, we'll give you a hand rather than we're just going to redo it on you.
If there's questions about how they can develop X, Y, Z.
And I also think that can be part of one of our strategic priorities. Is it making the services and resources more visible?
Communication
Yes.
is
Yeah.
key.
Visibility, definitely.
So we'll try to work for our next meeting to put this together into a functional document.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm not sure if it is possible or not, but I was thinking, can the town reach via rail and speak with them? I'm still focused on how people want to get to Ottawa and back to sorry about it. And talk about them. If someone can provide the documents that they live in the Smith Falls and they work in Ottawa, so that they get a specific discount, so that they can use the train in the morning to Ottawa and then the train back to Smith Falls in the afternoon until we get the stable system in place.
We'll investigate. So I believe there's a monthly pass that people can get, but I'm not sure what the cost is. We've talked to them before about schedule, because there's probably 4 or 5 trains that pass through here that don't stop on a daily basis. It's just part of the schedule, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess if a matter of if we had some understanding of more people would take it, would they end up then providing a stop? I mean, the implications upstream and downstream are, I mean, you're looking at changing the times for everybody elsewhere. But okay, so we'll try and connect with them and see if we can find out more about maybe any plans or what it would take for them to add more stops or some details we're getting monthly pass.
Even if it is like not, they are not, well, I understand it's a huge project, but even on their regular schedule, because I understand that they go to Ottawa once in the morning and once in the afternoon, like later in the afternoon. I'm not sure about the day time, but even if they can just manage to give it, a fairly noticeable, exceptional discount to people who need to use their transportation system to go back to Ottawa and Smith Falls every day, then that would be great.
We'll try and bring some information back in the next meeting.
What about OC Transport? Can we talk with them?
I would say we probably, I think once this rural transportation study is done, that would make sense to then see what resources might be available, including maybe OC Transport. I mean, they come to at least Munster Hamlet in Richmond, which is not that far. So it's a matter of whether they'd be willing to go to Carleton Place or any further. We don't know. But I think once the study's done, it'll help formulate where we go next. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving ahead, potential survey question. So we don't have a lot of time left, unfortunately, but if we want to try to help gauge some understanding from our community, we need an effective survey. I mean, the tools are there to put it together. It's more a matter of determining the questions we want to ask. So what's the information we want to end up with that's going to help us address our strategic priorities for the next couple of years. So I don't think we want to get into questions right now. I think that would, but I think
we should probably look at the report card and see what is in place before we develop survey questions.
Yeah, in conjunction with that anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think but as for some of the newcomers would not be aware of a lot of that stuff, I guess, right?
I didn't know pretty much like some of the stuff that were taught there. I didn't even know that they exist. So I assume that people don't know. You could just-
Quinn?
Perhaps alongside some of the questions around specific services, you could have a section in the survey that does the classic from strongly disagree to agree about certain aspects, like how safe do you feel on Beckford Street? How do you feel? Do you feel? I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. Do you feel about like optimistic about the future of the community? Do you feel like there are sufficient job opportunities available? Like you could have more detailed questions underneath that go into specific services, but just kind of like at the very beginning, a way to appeal. A way to poll the
I'm not sure what
general
you said to
feeling.
Peter, but he's walking out.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, what did I say?
For a doctor's appointment.
That's all right.
Well, I wonder, is there a couple here who would be willing to work together to try to say, just put together some questions, circulate to everyone else? Because I think it's a matter of, again, what do we want to learn, especially from people who are fairly new to our community? What brought you here? What's your experience like? Have you had
Do you
difficulty?
feel welcome?
Yeah, have you had difficulty with A, B, or C? If you're a racialized minority, have you experienced any racism, or if you're part of any community, experienced any form of negative feedback or hate or whatever?
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a number of questions we can ask. We don't want to make this a half-hour survey. We want something we can complete quite easily. But Gwen, I saw you nodding. Is that?
Yeah, I think I'd be happy to help
Yeah.
formulate those questions. I used to work in market research in a previous life. So
Wow.
There you go.
very, very long time ago.
Okay.
But I could probably help to formulate certain questions and get some. You could also do do you wish to self-identify? So for certain things like, do you feel safe? You could be like, then under certain profiling, just to be like, well, if you want to self-identify as 2S LGBTQIA, or if you're a racialized person, are you an indigenous person, then we get more of a sense of, oh, this person says that they're not feeling safe, but then we get a sense as to why they're feeling unsafe. Even maybe particular questions like, do you only interact with the community during the day? Do you go out? Do you interact with the community at nighttime, like the restaurants, bars? Certain senses of demographics, like age group, how long they've been in the community for. So you get senses that like, oh, people that have been here for say 5 years or less feel less safe, or maybe even the opposite, people who were here during the time when before Hershey's left. Maybe they're feeling less optimistic about the future of the town because they saw it slump, and then they saw Tweed come in, then they saw it slump again. And maybe that's a different perspective than people like myself who've come in. I didn't see the before times, so I have maybe a different perspective on how the community is based on people who were here for longer.
So as a community survey, are we targeting primary newcomers, or is this something you think should be open to everybody?
I think everybody.
I think everybody.
Back to what we were saying about like the residents and their needs, and then if we can take care of that, then the city will naturally be able to welcome new people. So I think
What if we all came up with like 5 questions for our next meeting or something, and then see how many overlap? Maybe the overlapping ones are the more important that should be on the survey. Just
So if you don't mind quarterbacking, then if you get the ball rolling, circulate to the group.
Yeah, a sense of like an informal census maybe, but we could make it more targeted towards newcomers if we wanted to. But
or just a newcomer section. If you're not a newcomer, don't fill this out.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you've answered no,
yeah.
then skip the next section.
You keep opening up into other questions if you're a newcomer, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're not, just move right on to the next section.
Or you have questions like, when did you move here? And people will just put down their date of birth.
Exactly, you get that a lot.
1989. Yeah, I'd be happy to help with that. with some assistance. I don't want to do it solo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to help.
Fantastic.
And there's, I've been here, what, 12, 15 years now?
20.
20? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's different perspectives.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Newcomer event. So this Mitra and Katie and I had met and talked about a newcomer event, and talked to staff, and we could host it either at the arena or we could host it. We talked about hosting in the town square, and in May. That might have to go to June now. We're running a bit behind with our objective, but basically it was simply. Well, one of you ladies want to talk about it? I don't want to dominate discussion, but
Well, go ahead, Mitra.
Well, last time we talked about like a community event that actually we said like it's open to everyone.
Mhm.
Everyone can participate, but it's actually a place for newcomers to meet other people. They can, they can bridge with other people, and that way they can make friends, get help, and also we can have table booths, information booths from other community organizations, so that they can pick up and they know about all these events and services that we just talked about, so that they know if they have this specific need, where should they go to. And then at the same time, you can have like a food kind of stand there for people to get coffee and finger food.
Would it be an annual thing?
could be. We see how it goes the first time, I guess.
Could be, yeah.
I remember the what was it, the Healthy Living Festival. That was very popular.
Mhm.
So maybe if the one in just a smaller area works, then we could expand to the big street party or whatever eventually in the summer.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was very popular with
Oh, yeah.
all the different
Yeah, all activities and
activity.
vendors.
Yeah, lots of kids enjoyed it. The people enjoyed it. Get out, talk, sit, have a coffee. There was lots to do.
Was it in a Smithville's?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anymore?
No,
Oh.
it's probably over 5 years ago now.
It's been a while. I think I took the kids to like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I
years
think
in a
about
row.
4
It
years
was
in a row.
it was a lot of work, and I think the committee that put it together got smaller and smaller and smaller. So eventually, it was the work of maybe like 3 or 4 people. So it was just they couldn't do it.
So, and Katie, do you want to add your comments?
No.
So what we have planned, okay.
You sent an email that you reached
Oh,
out
yes.
to the.
Yes, I got in touch with Karen Hallinan just to see, because she's a big deal at her St. Francis Church, and she has already sent something out to everybody, and just an advisory thing saying this was perhaps coming in the future. And so I spoke with her yesterday, and I was going to give her an update today because she's sending another newsletter out, so we can use that for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And she passed me on to Patsy Garvin. Anybody know Patsy?
Yeah,
I think
church.
Yeah, and so she's on site. She's going to let her people know. And John Gray from Remax said he would send it out to all the real estate companies in town. So we just have to update that again.
So settle on a date and,
Yeah.
and a format, and so they talk a bit of a trade show. If we can have partners just there as resource, so Falls Food was the food bank should be there.
Yeah.
On Track could be there, like real community health services. So the challenge, I guess, would be if we do it on a weekend, are we limiting the resources who could participate? I don't know if that'd be a problem or not. But on the weekend, we have a better chance of bringing more
people.
citizens.
Yeah, I agree.
And what I was going to suggest is that if the town can come up with a detailed not a brochure, but a poster that I can also go around and give that to people.
Okay.
Or businesses,
Word.
even as I'm going around, I can just drop one in every business so that they can put it on their bulletin board, so that people know about it. We need lots of information sending out. I feel like whatever we are talking about stays here. We need to make that bridge between us and the community so that they know what's going on, what's coming up.
Yes.
So if that those posters, even small size, they don't need to. I understand that printing and color printing can be a little bit costly, but as long as it has a date, it's short, kind of type of like what type of event it is and what are they going to expect to see there, and that's it, and the day and the time and the place, and that's it. And I can just go around and drop it everywhere.
Okay, so we need to figure out the format, the partners, location, timing. If it is a town square, contingency plan for weather.
And it was
The
a bring a
audience.
newcomer sort of thing, eh?
Yeah.
People bring the newcomer that you know is in town, or
We probably should have some children's activities so that adults can actually connect with other adults without being tugged away by their kids or whatever. Some volunteers maybe do face painting or
Yes.
things like that.
Even a coloring
Yeah.
area,
Yeah,
kids like that. So
we've got teens that can probably help with that.
I can
they
drop
would love
some.
the volunteer hours, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
lots of teens that
Yeah.
would probably help out.
Okay, so we need to spend more time working on that. So maybe the three of us, if we can meet next week,
Yeah.
and then we'll hammer out exactly everything that we think we need to do.
I can go to the museums, talk to the museums, drop them in the museums, because I'm also in touch with the Heritage Museum, so like
Mhm.
I can do other museums too. Also like any businesses that I visit, I just give them to put them, like if you have a stack of them, I can just leave some in every business,
Okay.
in gas stations too, in a convenience store, so that people can
The
see
town
and
can
pick
help
up.
and promote on our social media and stuff too. So we'll get the word out. I don't know what our capacity is, town square, if there's a number that would be related to that.
I'm not sure, I'll find out.
Okay, because I mean, if we've got 100 people, that'd probably be a very good event, but we don't.
Yeah.
So
Smith Falls has a Facebook community page.
Mhm.
We can
We can
just
take
post
advantage of
there
all that
as
stuff.
well. Like
Yeah.
everybody looks at that page. So
yeah, and anybody else has a group of people, that you're involved with, we could send it to them.
yeah, so I don't think it'd be hard to get the word out and get some people out and
Just a place that would accommodate maybe a lot, maybe not. It's
Yeah.
hard to say.
okay.
Yeah, if you have it open for a couple hours too, like if you go like 10 till 2,
Yeah.
you're gonna get different sets of people. And 10 to 2 is nice because kids nap. That gives you lots of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we get probably refreshments or hot dogs or
Yeah.
hamburgers, whatever.
Yes.
Okay. I know we're running out of time here, but we'll skip item D in the agenda because Chris
10 and 3? Yeah.
something Chris Cutler is proposing, but she's not able to be here today. Support for international students.
So I did reach out to MLI. MLI is the name of the company who is like in charge of connecting with the international companies in each country, and basically they organize the students from their side. They send the students here. MLI places the students in different towns and provinces. And they have assigned one person per province. And I spoke with the person who is in charge of GTA and Lanark County. I told him about that we have had this discussion. He said he would be happy if I connect him with you so that you can speak with him. And if you have any questions, you can ask him to see. He said I can provide some more information of what does MLI do. And if Mayor would like to speak with the higher people, like the bigger managers in the company, who I believe their headquarters is located in Vancouver, then he can provide you their contact information so that you can speak with them directly.
Did you say how many students we have here right now? Does he know?
I did not ask about the
Okay, okay.
details.
I know there's some at SFDCI.
Yes.
I know some at St. John's High School in Perth that are from here as well. But
yes.
we don't really necessarily know who they are. But
And-
schools but maybe can provide some information too.
I can see it as a good opportunity for our community as well, because they start seeing people from different countries. It provides a good opportunity for the international students to get in touch with the real Canadian life, living here with local people, find friends
Well, I think it's important that we maybe contact the high schools to make sure that when we have our newcomer event, that the students are invited.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Sure.
Okay.
The
Thank
contact
you.
at SFDCI is Mr. Meridew, I think, he does the exchange students, I think. I could
Okay.
be wrong, but
Okay.
I can find that out.
Okay. We don't have a roundtable on the agenda, but any roundtable items before we wrap up? No. Okay. Next meeting date, May 9th, 9 a.m. right here. Anybody's any thoughts on the next agenda? Feel free to reach out in the next couple of weeks.
The hub people and see if they're
Yeah.
interested in,
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be
Next month.
happy to come.
it'll be right after the casino event too, so that'll be.
Oh, you don't want to mention that because that's something we might as well promote while we're at it here.
I don't have all my flyers. I know it's the 4th of May, charity casino,
And why is it the 4th of May?
because may the fork be with you. It is the big Star Wars where you decided to go with a fun event.
Sure.
And $100 a ticket. We're hoping for some really big auction items, and we're just hitting the businesses now for smaller items. We're going to pool a bunch because some restaurants, I can give you maybe a $25 gift certificate, but we're trying to pool a bunch of those together so you could have not like a pub crawl, but like a restaurant crawl in town. And so that's sort of where we're at with that. It's, I can't remember how many tickets they're going to be selling, but the $100 will get you about $500 worth of chips,
Chips. So
casino chips. So your winnings can be traded in for tickets, and those tickets can be put on certain prizes for your chance to win these prizes. There'll be food,
Where is it
entertainment.
being held?
Legion. I'm looking at the poster in my head. I can get them, it'll be after, but they'll be able to update on how well we did with that. And if people aren't very good at gambling, then they run out, they can buy more chips.
yeah, so it's just a fun. Oh,
So if you know anybody or any businesses that are interested, I do have sponsorship letters that I can get to you then for those businesses. But
Also, we can just send we can all, like, each of us can talk and think about those questions
yeah,
and just email it maybe to Carrie. Carrie can put them together if
or when?
in line with what you're going to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna percolate on it a little bit and
Okay.
come up
Yeah.
with a structure just to get us started, and then
Yes.
people can look
Yes,
at it,
definitely.
add,
To
subtract,
that.
comment. Yeah.
Be great. Yeah.
Surveys. It's been a while.
Yes.
About 10 years.
Okay. Need a motion for adjournment. Moved by Janet, second by Mitra. All in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.